Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with feelings. And I was trying to think, what feeling did I have overall this week? And I guess it's about tomorrow, because tomorrow is May the 4th. And so may the 4th be with you. And it's the unofficial Star Wars weekend because of that. And I wonder who it was that first came up with May the 4th be with you. But whoever it was that worked that one out, they have gone down in history, and we all smile whenever we say it. So I'm actually going to a block party. You know, it's our first of the year. I live in a community, and we have a sort of pod of people who get together every now and then. And this is our first one of the year, and we're going to be doing it tomorrow. And let's hope that it goes well and we don't freeze. I don't know about you, but it's really weird. It's like it's really nice weather one minute, and then it's really quite chilly. And my gas fireplace is playing yo-yos. You know, I turn it off and then I turn it back on again, and then I turn it off for a day, and then I go, oh no, and I turn it back on again. So it's that time of year. What can I say? So just in terms of viewer updates, I just want to let you know that as of yesterday, because I haven't heard today, Lauren's mom is out of ICU, and she is has sat up, and um, she apparently is asking for her phone, which is a good sign that she is cognitively okay. Um, or questionable, right? Anyway, so what I'm saying is, though, that it looks like she's on the path at the moment of recovery, and we just keep our fingers crossed that she keeps going in that direction. Um, this weekend would be week 18 of my not having bought any meat in my grocery order. It's quite exciting to me that I've managed to get this far. I actually thought I'd last about a month, so the fact that I've lasted a season is really quite something. I'm quite excited about that. Um, and for those of you who don't know, the reason I'm doing this is because at the pandemic time, if you remember that far back, I bought a big freezer, one that you could put a couple of bodies in, and I filled it up with meats and stuff like that, so in case there was a shortage. And I'm trying to work my way through it. It's really quite something. But the good news is I've managed this far, and I'm going to continue to see how far I can go. What I've also noticed, though, my need for meat is changing. In other words, the fact that I'm not buying it every week, I'm not automatically, haven't got it in front of me all the time, so therefore I'm not eating it as much. I'm having more, vegetarian type stuff, which surprises me, quite honestly. Um, Everything surprises me. And in terms of birthdays, I know we've got a couple. Hi there, Sharon. Good to see you. Um, Now, why aren't they showing up? Let me just get the birthdays up while you're here. For some reason, that didn't update. It will. Just bear with me a second, people. I just don't want to miss anybody, because it's important for the people who've got a birthday. And if when we eventually get there, if I miss your birthday for this week, please let me know, because it means that you're not on the database, which is what I'm trying to access right now, and I'm getting there. There we go. Starting. Just okay. Where are we? We are in. Gosh, can you believe it's May already? It's really quite scary. All right. So what have we got? All right. So I believe that on the 6th. So that's Monday, I think. That's Bernice's anniversary. On the 8th, Taylor, that's Jodie's little fur baby, turns 7, I think. And on the 9th, Manon and Jeannie's daughter have birthdays. So those are the ones that are coming up. Wow. There we go. Hi, Jodie. Good to see you. And so, for those of you who don't know, Jodie is our admin, and she looks after me and makes sure that I don't forget things, which is wonderful. So, the May the 4th be with you. What's your favorite of all time? What is your favorite Star Wars quote? And the reason I say that is because it's interesting how one little line in a script can end up being iconic, that you just hear that one thing. Um, and I will be back, for example, out of the Terminator series, I think it was. And then you've got things like Make My Day. So when you're a screenwriter and you write this little thing, you don't necessarily think that it's going to end up a big time thing. And I'm pretty certain that May the force be with you. Um, People didn't think that was going to necessarily be a huge thing. If you're hearing, what do you call it, an alarm type sound, don't worry about it. It's I've got people outside and they're triggering a alarm I have to say that people in the area. Um, Yeah, so Jodie's saying, I don't know the Star Wars films well enough to quote. Well, may the force be with you. I'm pretty certain you know. And to me, can you remember, for example, when the first Star Wars movie was? Can you remember where you were living, what you were doing? It's amazing to me because I was still in England when the first Star Wars movie came out. I think, no? Was I? Was I in Africa already? I must have been in Africa. Anyway, so um, the first one, just so that you know, was in 1977. And that's going back quite a way now, right? So, and that's when when I first was introduced to Harrison Ford. I think it was his first movie, but I could be wrong. Oh, it's May the 25th. Thank you very much, Jodie. I didn't know that. So not only is it 1977, but it's also in a May. So that's excellent. Um, And I don't know about you, but just the mention of, things like R2D2. How many of you love that little thing? And do you know how R2D2 got its name? It's really funny. Apparently, George Lucas happened to be in a cutting studio, a sound studio, where they were cutting the dialogue for American Graffiti. And it was the second cut of the dialogue. And the guy that was doing the cutting said, "Oh, I've got to get back to R2D2, which was revision 2 of the dialogue, the second dialogue tape, R2D2." And George Lucas said, "That is such a great name." And the rest is history. And then, how many of you remember CP3, C3PO, right? C3PO. And again, oh, is that right? So American Graffiti was Harrison's first big film. Thank you, Jodie. So again, it's amazing how it all links in. So the interesting thing to me was C3PO came about. Now, this is just mind blowing to me. I was looking up, I love finding out these little things, right? Apparently, George Lucas was busy. You remember in the days when we had map books, way back when? you know, how did we do that and drive at the same time? I don't know. But anyway, for some reason, George Lucas's post office was at the map reference of C3. And he must have been looking to see where it was or something, and he thought C3PO. Another name. So, I don't know about you, but this sort of trivia stuff, I just blows my mind. And I double checked that because I thought maybe that was just made up, and it wasn't. Apparently, that is exactly what it was. Yeah, Jodie's saying about the map books, that's so true. How did we use a map? Yeah, and if you ask the young people of today to read a map, could they? If you ask them to get from A to B using a map book, could they do it? without the voice telling them you turn left at the next intersection. And we used to do it while we were driving, for goodness sake. That's what scares me. And let's see if you can remember, who said, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck? Can you remember? Obi-Wan said that. Yeah. Anyway, so here we go. To me, this week, I had a real feeling of being challenged. I don't mind telling you that. And the reason I was challenged was I got some new motion detectors. Cute little things there. Hang on a sec. See, just like that. Now, for those of you who don't know, I like to fill my house with motion detectors. So at night, I don't have to turn on lights. I just have the light on where I'm sitting. And if I get up to, go somewhere, these will turn on as I walk. All right. And, I'm not using a lot of electricity or anything. And they just last long enough, for you to go where you're going. And then by the time you come back, it's gone off again. But as you get near it, it'll trigger again. So the good news about this is that they arrived, and I got 3 more. And I buy these things slowly as I need them. And what I couldn't believe was they turned on, but they turned off immediately, and I couldn't understand why. And then after about 2 days of trying to work out, why aren't these things working properly? And I managed to get it apart, and then I realized it needs batteries. So do any of you have duh moments? And I don't know how you react when you have a duh moment, but I just burst out laughing on, yeah, they work a lot better with batteries. So now they're all charged up. And that's the other thing I must keep reminding people is that when you buy batteries from Amazon, you need to charge them. There's those rechargeable ones. You need to charge them before you use them. Okay. And so it's just been it's been a really interesting week, actually. I hope yours was interesting. Did any of you have any challenges this week? If so, let me know. The other thing was I continue to be amazed that for those of you who don't know, I went through a really tough year a couple of years ago where I had a mastectomy done, and then I was put on some drugs, and the drugs really badly affected my hips for some reason. And I could literally hardly walk. And it happened when they put me on the anti-cancer drug that they gave me. And I ended up hardly being able to walk. I was walking with a cane and not walking well with the cane either. And I was pretty sure I was going to need a hip operation and all sorts of things. And then being who I am, I tried to look into what can I do to help myself, and one of the things I did was that I started to use a bike a bit more, an under desk bike to try and strengthen. But, and then although I don't want to walk because it's painful, it's important to walk because it keeps those muscles moving. And then I had the idea that maybe yoga would help. And, it did. And then some of you heard me talk about this before. But what I found interesting is I did another lap of the community this week, which, a year ago, I didn't think I'd ever do again. And what I noticed was my right hip was the one that was painful. So I've obviously strengthened the left one, but haven't strengthened the right one the same way. Isn't that typical? But then I was talking to one of my neighbors here, and she happens to be a Pilates instructor. And to me, I like to take advantage of people with information like that. And I was telling her about my experience. And she said, yes, did you know? And she said, I think it's in Australia. We'll have to check with Lauren on this one. But before you go in for a hip or knee operation, you are forced, if you want to have that operation done, you have to go for at least 3 months of um, physical therapy, stroke, yoga type stuff. Now you're wondering why? Because in Australia, they have found out that they can minimize the number of operations necessary by just getting people to do the right exercises. And I've proven that point, right? For those of you who remember, a year ago I could hardly walk. And yet today I can walk without a cane. I can go up and down stairs. I can do it without holding on most of the time. It's just like it's a different story. And so when I said to her, that's fascinating. And she said, yeah. And I said, it makes you wonder why other countries don't do that. Other than the fact, of course, all those surgeons would lose an awful lot of money. But, it's like if doing yoga and or other physical therapy can minimize the number of operations, wouldn't we want that? Yeah, who would want to have a knee operation? Hmm? Now, it's not for all people because it depends on why you need the knee operation or the hip operation. But what happened to me was my muscles were holding on so tightly to my hip that it was excruciatingly painful. What I've been doing is telling them, hey, it's okay. You can relax now, right? The bad stuff is gone, we hope. And so that's it. Hi, Jeannie. Good to see you. And so, hang on a second, people. So you look at it and go, the old adage, right? If you don't use it, you will lose it. So I really encourage you all, whatever's hurting. Yeah, I've got a problem and I do need to go and see the doctor about it. And I'm about to go make that appointment. I've got a problem with bicep, I think it is, isn't it here? And it's, if you can imagine, it's okay most of the time. But if I lift like this, if I lift this way, like this, wow, that's painful. And so I've got to find out what that could be caused by and why it's been going on for a long time. And, you start off going, oh, I've just got a bit of a strain or something. And then, yeah, but you would think a strained muscle. Charlotte, hi, Charlotte. Charlotte's saying it could be strained muscles. Yes, but for months and months and months. So what I've got to do now is talk to the doctor and say, okay, how do I fix this? And he, I've got a doctor with a wicked sense of humor, so he probably say, because I notice that like when I'm cleaning windows, it hurts. And yeah, I've got a good reason not to clean windows. I'm now using my left side. But it's just like, it's a really weird thing. It doesn't hurt when I just do this, little bit of a twinge, but it's when I use this from here to here in an upward motion. Oh, so anyway, other than that, I'm doing fine. How about you guys? Yeah, it's a tear in a muscle aren't fun. Ah, okay. I agree. So I just want to go back to the Star Wars stuff. I just want to make sure I've covered all the things I wanted to cover. I heard, by the way, going back to C-3PO, the guy that played that part, do you know that he was threatened? His life was threatened and all sorts of things. It was he lived a horrible life after that. I'm not quite sure what caused that, but I know I read a little bit somewhere that he really had a terrible time with social media and stuff when it came in. Now, C-3PO became a thing in NASA because they loved the name as well, and they actually they named one of their departments that, and it was, hang on one second, their Commercial Crew and Cargo Program Office. C3, Commercial Crew and Cargo, P, Program Office. Isn't it cute? Charlotte saying, she, Charlotte's torn a knee muscle. Wow, that's also painful. Yeah, I think I've torn a muscle, but I'm not quite sure how. No idea. Um, but it's been months. I mean, this isn't like weeks. This is months. This has been going on, and I feel it's getting worse, but I could be wrong. Um, I was thinking, other than Yoda, because obviously I loved Yoda, but other than Yoda, who were one of my favorite characters, I think was Jar Jar Banks. Do you guys remember that very clumsy Jar Jar Banks? Whenever I see him, I always smile for some reason. So it's funny how these characters stay with you. Um, and I got a quote from Yoda, and it says, "You think Yoda stops teaching just because his student doesn't want to hear? A teacher, Yoda is. Yoda teaches like drunkards drink, like killers kill." I think whatever it is that you are, I've always said this to people, who maybe are doing in one thing of their life and they're saying, I think I need to change and do something new. And I said, my experience in life has been that if you change away from what you think you were meant to do originally, if you were still meant to do it, you'll end up back there again. Does that make sense? So if you decide, you're a teacher, for example, and you decide to go and be a hedge cutter, you will be teaching hedge cutting in some way, right? You will always do what you were destined to do. You might do it in a different field, literally, but you will always go back to that. So I love that quote. Yoda teaches like drunkards drink and like killers kill, right? If you're meant to teach, you will teach. And I think that is so important for us to remember, because I think so many people wonder, what am I meant to do in life? It's the thing you keep doing. The thing you keep doing is the way. Um, Now, the other thing that interested me this week was uses for coffee cans. How many of you buy? I learned quite a while ago, quite a few years ago, that if you mix good coffee with what I call store-bought coffee, store-bought bulk coffee, um, you end up with really nice tasting coffee for half the price. So, but that means that you end up with a lot of coffee tins. So, what do you guys have coffee tins? Do you throw them out? What do you do with them? I found that there are all sorts of use for them. First of all, I wanted to show you what I do with mine. Hang on a second. Jeannie's saying, when I was younger, I thought I'd be a director of plays. When I got older, I was administrator to several doctors, so I directed their lives. Yes, if you are meant to be a support person, or someone that like Jody is the same, all right? She loves to support people, and so you look at it. Yeah, Jody's saying, Jody's saying, Sal, you've saved us a small fortune by mixing the coffees. Yeah. Anyway, so I end up with a lot of tins, but I keep mine. All right. I'm a craft person, as some of you know, and you're going to see a bit more later. But I've got my punches in one. I've got ribbon. Can you see the second one's got ribbon coming out of it? Ribbons in the. I've got magnets and things like that in another one. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a really good way. And what I love about it is that is a little space next to a bookcase. All right? So it's taking up the width of a coffee can, but it's going up vertically. And now I've also used them. You see the ones that where you take the official wrapping off it, it ends up being a silver one. If I'm short of Christmas paper, sometimes I throw presents into them, right? Because they're silver already. I put a really nice bow on top and nobody cares. So that's that one. So that's one use for them. If you've got any fancy uses for coffee cans, let us know. I I have used them as a worm farm. The red ones, the Folgers ones, are plastic. What I did was I punched holes into them, and then I buried it into my vegetable garden up to the top, the lid. And then what I do is, as I take out weeds, all right, I throw them in there so that the worms can eat them. And it's amazing, I all through the winter, I keep throwing bits in there so the worms can have good green food. But it's amazing how they still keep getting in there and out again. Uh, and also, it's fertilizing that area of the vegetable garden. So that's one other use for them. Um, I I guess you could use it as a kitchen waste thing, if you need to. Um, I have one in my laundry room, one of those silver ones. I have it in my laundry room as a mini waste paper basket. Works beautifully. For a little bit that you find in a pocket or something, you just throw it in there. So that's another use for it. Um, did you know that if you fill it with salt, I didn't know this, if you fill it with salt, it will act as a humidifier. I didn't know that. If you're a camper, really good idea to put your toilet paper in one. Cut a slit in the top and put to keep your toilet paper dry if you're a camper. Um, I like to keep the lids. Huh. Hold on. This one. Every now and then I go back to doing certain things. Anyway, I like to keep the lids to put under my plants. All right, as water catchers. So there's another use for them. Um, so if you've got any others, let's share them. But the main thing is they are really useful and they take up very little space. And also remember, the key to downsizing is to empty everything out of a drawer or whatever, purge it, and then make sure that you put it into categories and contain it. All right. So how much room would all this take in a drawer? It would probably take up half a drawer. But because I've got them stacked this way, all right, literally they are taking up this much space but high. And they work beautifully. I just want to tell you, reuse, recycle where you can, all right? Now, we're going to start talking a little bit about spring cleaning because that's the feeling that we're in at the moment. Have any of you done any spring cleaning this week? I've done really well. I'm quite surprised. I promised you guys that my next goal in the kitchen was to clear all my countertops and around the corner there, all right, and my greenhouse window in May. It's all done already. I couldn't believe it. Okay, so what I did, just so that we can do, and I've got a picture because you won't be able to see it because of the light. It's too much light in my greenhouse window. If you remember before, I had lots of plants and all sorts of crud in there. But it's going to be too warm for plants in the summer. So what I did was I took everything out and gave it a good spring clean. And then what I did, and I'm going to show you a picture so you can see, is I already had that 3-tier unit, all right? 1, 2, 3, and just need to imagine that blind went up. So what I did is I bought, I bought an expanding dish rack, all right? And now I keep my everyday plates there and my knives and forks and things in that corner, that little black thing there holds knives and forks, all right? So, and that was working beautifully, but then all sorts of things happened after that. And so I ended up with, let me show you. So the bottom is that dish rack, but then at the next level, I have a rack where I can dry my plastic bags and my reused wet wipes type stuff, a bottle dryer are on that level. It works so well. And then on the top level, you can probably see I've got mugs, extra mugs for my coffee maker. Jody's saying she did a bit of cleaning 10 minutes at a time when I can. Excellent. So I'm really happy. And by the way, we now have, I use my dishwasher far less because I can just quickly rinse things and put them up there. And then it's a solar dish dryer. It gets so warm in there in the afternoon. You know, it's just like my plastic bags are cleaning in no time, drying in no time in there. So I'm really happy. Hang on a second. And, you know, you got to get used to it. Now, it got really interesting yesterday. And the way it got interesting yesterday, I've lost my quotes here for some reason. There we go. I see what's happened. Yesterday, Ciora came, and Ciora got very excited about what I was doing. And, you know, I said, the only thing I've got left to do is, you will see I've moved the air fryer, for those of you who are regulars. And there's a reason for that I'm about to show you. I moved it from the other side of the stove to there because of what I did. What you couldn't see, and you still can't see, is that countertop there goes along to the wall, and then it has about it's like a full meter of countertop. But I could very rarely use it because it was full of all my appliances that I use every day. You know, the Magic Bullet, Nigel the Ninja, Little Whisks, you know, you name it. They were all there, and all the bits that went with them. And it was always a mess. And so I was talking to Ciora yesterday when she came. And she comes, for those of you who don't know, Ciora's lady comes to help me every week, once a week for a couple of hours. So she helps me do the garden and anything else that I want help, and I pay her to do that. So I said, what I'm thinking of is one of two things. Either to get a roller blind so that I can, if you can imagine that this is all my appliances, so I can just pull a roller blind down and hide them. And I said, the other thing I was thinking of was, what if I put cubies up there? Now, I don't know if you can see those cubies there? Oh, wait a minute. There. All right. I've got cubies like that throughout the house. White ones, very clean, excellent. What is a Norman wisdom measurement? I'm missing something here. Hi there, Linda. Good to see you, by the way. Anyway, so what I'm saying is that I've got this big, oh, this is, okay, got it. Right. Thank you. Now I understand. I had to do it again to understand what you're saying. So anyway, you understand the whole of that worktop uh, was full of appliances. And so Ciara said, so did you already buy the cubes to go there? And I said, yep. She said, well, why don't I put some together for you so that you can see if it works? And I said, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Are you ready? Imagine the whole worktop full of appliances. Those appliances are still on that worktop, but this is what it looks like. See, we got four cubes in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the middle is my organic spin, and underneath it, that red Dutch oven I've got. How does that look? Does that look really tidy? And by the way, it also has given me, when I'm working on doing stuff here, cooking here, I've got this whole corner now for putting stuff in while I cook. And that's why we moved the air fryer out of that corner so we could get the cubies all the way down without it being in the way. Now, the only things that moved, some things moved to this corner, and I don't know if you can see it, the magic bullet moved, and the whisk, the small whisk moved. And those are the only things that moved to this area. Everything else was contained in here. And I am so happy. Talk about a difference. And it was like, it just looked so messy all the time. And I couldn't think of a way. And I kept seeing things, I watch programs just to see how other people are organizing their kitchens. And I went, that's so clever to bring, a lot of people had sliding doors, right, where you could just slide the door across the appliances. And that was a good idea. And I thought, hey, wait a minute. I didn't think it was going to work, but I said to Ciara, let's try it. I can use the cubes elsewhere, but let's try it, see if it works. And it works beautifully. And it is housing, just so you know, in this first corner here, it's housing my juicer. The next thing is got the bottom of the Nigel the Ninja and the blades and the cups. In this one, I've got spare water for my water jug. I'll explain that in a minute. And some herbs and spices. This one, I've got the big Nigel the Ninja thing. How about that for simplicity? So clean. And by the way, those cubes are made of sort of like a plastic material so you can wipe them down. Perfect. So did I feel accomplished? You bet I did. Now then, for those of you who've been watching my hydroponics, I have good news and bad news. The good news, let's start with the bad news. The bad news is my hydroponics in my guest bathroom, basically after a year, I'm going to pull it apart. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I just can't get it to work the way I want it to. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to get rid of it or whether I'm going to use it in a different way. And I think I might take it outside and use it for my lettuces. But that's it's still a work in progress. But what I wanted to show you, for those of you who've been watching my experiment with my cabbage, look what it did this week. So do we think it's healthy? And all I do is change the water every couple of days. Look at that. It was all clustered down. This is a safari cabbage, just so that you know. Isn't that cute? It's like a piece of art. Looks so vibrant, yeah. Now, to be fair, I have a lot of light in my kitchen, all right, because I have a skylight up there as well. Yeah, it looks amazing. So now, um, and you remember we did that experiment with the sage and the basil from just the stalks that came in on the shopping. The sage is looking healthy. It hasn't grown any roots yet, but I have a feeling in a couple of weeks it could. But it is still growing. I'm seeing new leaves appearing. So we know it's sucking in the water somewhere. And I was pretty sure that the basil wouldn't work until I saw. I always have to be careful of my computer keyboard here. Okay. It's very difficult for me to get there. I don't know if you can see. Yeah, I think you can. Can you see that tiny leaf there? And there's another tiny one right there. How exciting is that? So now, because I had the success I did with my cabbage, I'm now put the bottom of a this is the bottom of a romaine lettuce. So I just want to see how long can we get it to grow roots like the cabbage? And as I said, I am aware that I have lots of light in this kitchen. One of the reasons I bought the house. So now another trick. I was saying to you, don't buy fresh basil in a little packet, buy the whole plant, right? So, but the thing is that you have to remember to keep watering it. And how do you know? It comes in this stupid package. Hang on. This is why it's stupid, because it's difficult to get it out. Okay, there we go. All right. All self-contained like this. All right. And, oh, Kimmy, I've got a question for you just in a second. So what I did was I put it in water, put this in water because it got holes in the bottom, all right, and for a day, and let it really get all the water it needed. And then what I did, now Jody, this will blow your mind. This Mrs. MacGyver moment. Then I weighed it, all right? And when it was full with water, all that peat moss was full with water, it was 660 grams. However, today, this is where the MacGyver moment comes in. Today, it is 461 grams. So it has used up nearly half that weight, which means it's probably close to needing more water. Clever. I no longer have to sort of go, I wonder if it needs water. I can tell by its weight whether it needs water. Yes. I love these moments. You know I love these moments. Okay, that's really clever, so. Right, what else have I got for you? Ah, yeah. All right, so now that we've got Kim here, Kimmy, good news. I wanted to know if either of those purples appeal to you, or I know you wanted a sort of more a deep indigo one, but I wonder if the deeper purple is roughly what it is, or you need a more bluey purple than that. Jody, while I'm doing that, which of the two teals do you think for your sister-in-law, the darker one or the lighter one? For those of you who don't know, I'm just making something for Jody, so, or will be. It's going on the list. It's difficult with a computer, I know, but they're both teal. One is a light aqua sort of color, and the other is a deeper teal, the darker one. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. Okay, so Kimmy, you're saying this color. I just want to make sure. This is the color that you would. All right, I'll make one up in that just so you can see it. Okay. All right, now then, I have good news and bad news about packaging these. Hang on a second. All right, so this is what we're talking about, so people can see what we're talking about. And the problem is, I knew that mailing a frame like this, just let's see this. Okay, this frame is just about 500 grams or a pound. All right, so this whole thing. So you understand, mailing it with glass and with that weight, very expensive. Let me explain to you why I know that's very expensive. And that is because I sent one off this week to Europe, and I did it in the smaller frame. All right, this one, the 8x8 frame, which has plastic, acrylic rather than glass. And you can see it's that much smaller. And it ended up costing me $26 just for the shipping. Okay, so I'm going, that's way too expensive for most people. So then I asked the magic question, which you all know is very dangerous for me, which is what if? And what else could I do, all right? And then I thought, well, I could ship the actual art itself, okay, flat without the frame, and let the person the other end buy the frame, which a lot of people would be willing to do, all right, just to save that money on shipping. But I also know there are a lot of people that are not into doing that sort of stuff. However, the difference is that this is only 8 ounces, 8.5 ounces, or 238 grams, all right? Quite a difference, right? This was 500, so this is half the weight. But even at half the weight, it costs $26 just to mail it. So then I'm going, what if I made a paper frame? And I'm going, what? So I had a little test run, and here is my paper frame. It's not closed off because I wanted to show you how I make it. And then what I did is I knew that it was going to need some support inside it, right? So that it wouldn't crush if it's being mailed. So can you see the sort of construction there is all quite technical, right? And then I reckon, okay, I know how I want to put it together now. I am so excited to bring to you today's achievement, which is in a regular mailer. Sal's paper frame, complete with a hanger. Don't you love it? Made of card and reinforced. And let me show you how strong it is. Okay, so here it is. This book is 5.5 pounds heavy. That's like a bag of sugar. Okay? Or in the other official language, it is 2,000 grams. 2,500. So here we go. How many of you would put a book as heavy as a bag of sugar on top of a paper frame? Probably not. So now what do I know? I know that it is the frame itself is sturdy, which is what I needed. I can fold the flap here. I can then support the arch inside with the help of leftovers from Mr. Bezos from Amazon. And now I can mail it like this. It's not going to bend because of the cardboard. Now, the one thing that I do believe is that I am going to buy acrylic sheets and I'm going to put acrylic over it inside the frame. Because the one thing I'm aware of, as beautiful as this is, all 10 layers of it, as beautiful as it is, it will probably end up being a dust catcher. So the next one I make, I'm not taking this apart. Everything I do is a work in progress. I keep going, what would make it one step better? So the next one I make, or the next one I send, I will actually buy acrylic sheets and put acrylic inside. So it'll be like a picture frame. So the same as this has. Isn't that exciting? But who would have thought, right, that you could put a 5-pound book on top of it? And I have to be pretty confident to do that in front of you and not have it break. So this one is going to be on its way to another friend. All right, so now then, Kimmy's saying, I'm looking for paint colors for my front room. And everything looks the same. I'm looking at the white colors. Okay, so I would look at off-white. All right, Kimmy, just from experience. Actually, I do have white trim in my house because I went for that very dark. I have dark accent walls. You can't see it there. Huh. Okay, so my accent wall in my dining room is almost this color. So you understand white looks so clean against it. So this time I have got white trim. But in my other house, it depends what your contrast colors are going to be. In my other house, I had more beigey colors, if you like. And there I had like an off-white rather than a full white. But whatever color you use for your trim, please, please, please use good quality paint that you can wash. All right? Don't go for cheap paint. Because if you buy good quality paint, it'll last you a lifetime. In my other house, my paint lasted me 20 years. I just kept touching it up every year, whenever there was a ding or a nick or whatever. I cannot tell you how much time and effort that saved me. And even when I went to sell the house, the guy said, "You've obviously just repainted." And I smiled. I didn't tell a lie. I just smiled and said, "I'm glad it looks that way." So this achievement, can you imagine? All right, now here's what I want you to think about. How easy do you think this was? First of all, to get the design right, then to get the size right, and understand this is one cut, two, then a score line, and then there's a back. You know, it was quite a number of thinking things. And then could I get it to go together so that it's square? So I think, Jody, your reaction was it must have taken so much time and patience when you first saw it, right? And you're right, it did. But that's how you end up with. And then, by the way, I thought, and what if it comes with its own hanger? Okay, which you don't have to use, you can fold it down. But now it's like, you know, just find yourself a push pin and you are good to go. Here's the interesting part. That's what I wanted to show you. So this was a bag of sugar. This was half a bag of sugar. Right, this was 2. Oops. Stay there. So this including its packaging, (132 grams or 4 ounces. That's a pound. This is 4 ounces. This cost $26 to send. And I'm talking about airmail. I'm not talking about going by surface mail and maybe never getting there. I'm talking sending it airmail, but not tracked, all right? And so this would end up costing $12, half the price. Now, I think $12, people are going to understand that's a shipping cost. It would cost that for almost anything, right? And I can fit it into a regular padded envelope. So exciting. So yeah, it felt like major achievement to me. Another step forward. And that was what was easy. Kimmy, any questions about redoing your living room? I'm delighted to hear that you're doing it. And the reason that I say that is that, you know, I always think that a can of paint is the cheapest makeover you can have. All right. And the other thing is, for those of you who may be renting, all right, is I don't know too many landlords who don't want to have their property upgraded. And therefore, if you say I'd be willing to paint, will you be willing to supply the paint? Or if they say no, say, okay, I'm willing to pay for the paint. Do I have your permission to repaint? And they may ask you what color you're going to do it, because they don't want it to be, you know, purple with yellow spots or something, you know. And, right, they need to know you're using a paint color that will not limit their ability to be able to re-rent the place after you've gone if you happen to go. So I've learned from a lot of people that were landlords, which is, hey, if the tenant is prepared to do the work, I'll supply the paint. Why? It helps upgrade the property all the time. So it's a good idea, right? So I'm really happy with the progress for this week. And talking of spring cleaning, here's another tip. How many of you notice now that your whites are beginning to look a bit dingy? Hold on a second. Okay, white face cloths. I use white face cloths all the time. This one is probably 15 to 20 years old. This one is probably, I'm looking at the pattern, probably 5 to 10 years old, the second one. Okay, see the difference in color? And this one is probably only about 4 to 5 years. See the difference in color? Now, when you see this, it looks pretty white, and it is. And the reason is I have learned that when I keep a small bucket on top of my washing machine, and I just keep laundry detergent. Every time I empty it, I just put in a cup of laundry detergent, and then anything I have that is white, that's small, I throw in there. So that would be undies and anything else that's white, right? I throw it in there. And then when it's the day to do the whitewash, I just tip the whole lot into the washing machine and wash it. And what happens is it soaks in the stuff. And that's why 20 years later, I've still got a white face cloth that you would probably think isn't more than a year old. But look at them. Isn't that amazing? And people always say to me, somebody say, do you have a rag? I go, yep. And I'll bring one of these out. And they go, no, a rag. And I go, yep. It's 20 years old. It's a rag. So, but here's what I learned. If you want to really do if you've got white sheets, any of you got white sheets by any chance? White pillowcases, anything like that. If you want to change the way they look dramatically, definitely once a year, but maybe if you use the same sheets all the time, maybe every 6 months, put them in a wash, and here's what you do. Put 1/4 of a cup of washing soda, borax, whatever, right, into the detergent slot of your washing machine. Okay, if you've got one, or huck it in once the water is in. Then in the softener slot, put in 1/2 a cup of white vinegar. Now, if you haven't got a softener slot, then watch your washing machine, and once it starts filling up with rinsing water, huck the vinegar in there. All right? You will find the combination of those two things in your wash will change the color of your whites completely. Now, I don't know if any of you go back as far as I do, but I remember in the day when I lived on a farm and I was a little girl, that we always added bluing to our whites. Do any of you remember that? Did any of you still do it? And that is why when I put my whites into wash, I also put in, I've got some navy blue face cloths, like this, but they're navy blue. And I huck those in because it's like bluing. Yeah, you've never used it, but you've heard of it. So that's another thing to have a look at. I don't know if they even still make it, but it's important to understand. I think in a way, we've probably already got it in our washing powders. When you look at it, it's probably the oxygen stuff and everything else probably has it automatically. But I thought you would like to know that because it really does make a difference to your whites. And if you don't believe me, try it. Now, I haven't brought out my underwear to show you because I got some white underwear, how white that is. But even though it is not sort of a material you'd expect to stay white. So, I want to tell you, just leaving things to soak until you actually wash them is a really good idea. All right, what else is my next tip of the day? Oh, I know what else I did. You know that I spring clean my house by little bits, right? And I'm working my way around my house. I've now got to my bedroom, and I'm in a corner of my bedroom that has not been taken apart since, I moved back here after the fire, and you're not really cleaned. So I actually have got into this corner, and I took everything out of the corner, and I cleaned it. And now I've cleaned the. Oh, interesting. Still available. Bluing, still available on Amazon. How much? Hang on a second. I've got a stupid icon covering the figure. So I just need. Okay, $6 for a bottle of bluing. I just needed the line to go up so that I could read it. $6 for a bottle of bluing. I might get some. Mind you, do I really need it? I don't think so. But for those of you who might like to try it, but I haven't seen it. I haven't seen people use it. But I remember it. I mean, you wouldn't dream of doing a whitewash in my mother's day without using bluing. So anyway, I got into this corner and I even cleaned the windows. It's just like, now that might sound, you don't clean the windows. Well, those blinds stay down 24/7 all year. All right. And the reason is because in the winter it keeps the cold out, and in the summer it keeps the heat out as well. So I found that in my bedroom, and let's be honest, I go to the bedroom at night, all right, and during the day, I want to keep it as cool as possible in there. So what I do is I keep those blinds. I have blinds that let the light through. But not, you can't see. I just want to show you what sort of blinds I've got. Hold on a second. Okay, so my blinds are like that. Can you see that? So they let the light in, but people can't look in. Honeycombs. Anyway, so I was so proud of myself, and I am busy. I've taken the boxes that were there. There were boxes that were pre-sorted last summer that were there, and now those have come out ready for this summer to sort them one last time or chuck them. You know what I mean? It's like I haven't touched them for a year. Have I got these sphericals now to actually throw that stuff away or find a place for it to live? If I can't find a place for it to live, then I need to make room for it or throw it away. So I'm very excited about that. So now I'm into the last section, which would be the patio doors and the boxes that are close to the patio doors, because I've got 3 or 4 there. And to give you some idea, one box has got kitchen stuff in it that I think I might use, but I haven't in a year. So what do we know? But it's so difficult to let it go, right? And I'm not talking about the roasting pan or whatever. I'm talking about gizmos, little gizmos. You know what I'm like. But I'm pretty sure that I can donate them now because I haven't been near them in a year. That means I can donate them, right? Live without them. Am I the only one that finds that incredibly difficult? I hope not. I hope I'm not alone in that, because I would feel like such an idiot. So, as you know, I have done the downsizing for the month, which was clear off everything and reorganize my kitchen countertops. I haven't done this one. This will be June. And I've got some major changes I want to make. And you can't see this, thank goodness. But what I've got here is a QB and my old toaster oven, convection toaster oven, now called an air fryer, and another QB, and then Aero Garden and Nyaga Nyaga. So, Ciara was saying to me, why do you still have the other air fryer? I said, because it's a perfect height to hold my tablet when I'm doing broadcasting. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? It's the perfect height. It keeps my notes at the perfect height. Why wouldn't I just keep it there? But what I do need to do is to use it for storage. It could hold the spare bits for my air fryer. That's a very good idea, Sal. I'm going to do that after the broadcast. It's a perfect container for the one might be too. I don't want to ruin that. Do not ruin that, Sal. Put that away. Okay. Hold on a second, people. Imagine another air fryer underneath here, an old one. That doesn't fit in. Yes, it does, that way. Am I happy? Well, forget about I'm going to do it after the broadcast. It's done. It's the perfect little container, remember? Take it all out, purge it, and then contain it. It's the perfect container. And now, nothing in there. Now, the other question is, why do I have a massive oven that I have only used twice in 4 years? I'm beginning to think I should be keeping some of my appliances in there. But I'm so scared that one day I'll turn the oven on without checking what's in there first. So therefore, that's a bit scary. But there we go, one step at a time. And all the time, the most important word to remember in trying to downsize and declutter your house is contain. It is not just minimize what you've got, but what you've got, contain it. If you contain it, it looks tidier. I am so sorry I did not have a before picture of this. All right? Because you don't really understand what a shock this is, but you can probably imagine, it was Niger the Ninja, big Niger the Ninja, and it couldn't stand all in one. I had to have it separated into two. It was just like all stuff and leads, and it looked horrid. And now look at it. Pristine. And how easy will it be to keep clean? Very. Now, I do have a couple of things on top. Don't know if you can see, I have utilized a little bit here. That's like a mandolin thing there. And I've got some little plastic tops on top there that I use, and that's okay. I'm happy to have them there because you can't really see them, right? The eye doesn't go there. All right, if I showed you that, I'm pretty sure you didn't notice. You probably would notice the jug here, but you didn't notice back there. You might have noticed that, but I doubt it. It's not where your eye goes. Your eye goes this way. And there's the little Dutch oven. I slotted it in under there. Okay, so yeah, Jodie's saying we did that one, Sal. We were storing some baking pans and spare utensils in the oven, then forgot about it and set the oven to 400 to preheat. I quickly noticed the smell of burning plastic. Yeah, that's the reason why if I did put anything in there, it would have to be baking tins and stuff, which I already have out of the kitchen anyway. I don't keep them in the kitchen because I don't use them enough. All right, I use my silicone ones. Oh, what a pity, right? The plastic top for a 9 by 13 thing was burning. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's why I don't do it. Um, but what a waste of space. And I'm beginning to look at things, Jody, and the rest of you. I'm beginning to look at space as real estate. All right. And one thing I learned when I was selling my previous home was ideally you need one thing on each, no more than one thing on each countertop. All right. So basically, if I were trying to show my house, I would probably keep the Keurig out and everything else that's there would need to be in that cupboard. All right. And that's the goal. But I've got to empty that cupboard first. That's what I'm working on. Now, obviously, I've got plants there, you can see. All right. So, but I wouldn't have them there if I were doing a show house. Funny enough, I probably would keep my cabbage and stuff because it's a talking point. Um, but you know what you've got to look at each surface. Can you get it down to just one or two things on each surface? So yes, it's okay to have the air fryer there. And yes, it's okay to have the kettle there. By the way, it's there because there is a plug-in on top of the stove. Right there, there's a plug-in. That's electric kettle. But then I would need to have this stuff that is there up in that cupboard, but I've got to completely empty that cupboard to do it. Yes, and that's exactly it. Jodie's saying the same thing. It makes so much sense. I told Lionel that any appliance that is kept out on the counter must be worthy of that real estate. Yes, it must be worthy of the space. And even then, I've hidden them. And I want to tell you, Jodie, the psychological effect of how much prep space I have now. Now, I know I've got a massive amount of prep space here, but you know I use this for broadcasts, right? This is like important real estate for me on Fridays and Sundays. I can use it for prepping, but I don't. I'm inclined to prep near the sink and near the oven. Psychologically, that makes sense. So now I've created a clean, that was the thing. I always felt I was cramped because there's so many wires and things and it was getting dirty and you can't keep it clean like that. Look how nice and clean that is. How easy is that to clean? And by the way, there's a cubie behind here, behind the water thing. That one, I just slide the water thing, open it, and what it's got in it is my juicer, and I only use my juicer about once a month to use up any fruits and vegetables that are left. I will turn it into a health food mix sort of thing and keep it in a jar in the fridge. Right, about once a month I do that. Any apples and oranges that have been in there a while, right? Just juice it all up and then just keep it. Grapes are in there, right? And I do strain it because it's way too much fiber, and I do strain it. But I can add it to smoothies, or I can just drink it on its own. All right. Where are we on this sprinkling? So I'm feeling really good, talking about feelings, coping with feelings. I'm feeling really good about um, my progress in downsizing and spring cleaning this week. I know that achievement is really important to my mental health. So the creativity and achievement here is good for my mental health. Does that make sense to everybody? So I'm always looking at what problem, and I think even Siora said that to me yesterday. She said, "You're really a problem solver." And I said, "Yeah, that's what I used to do for a living." um, I can remember a top guy of IBM, no, or Hewlett Packard, one of the two, anyway, in Africa, said to me once when I solved a problem that they had not been able to solve in their company, a personnel problem that they hadn't been able to solve. And I said, "Give me the whole team. Give me all your team for an afternoon. I will fix this problem for you." And they did. I was quite surprised. They gave me everybody. The whole department came, and I worked with them for the afternoon. And when the CEO came at the end of the afternoon, and everybody was laughing, yeah, these people had all been clashing horribly. Everybody was laughing. Everybody was getting on really well. Everybody was obviously over it. He said, "What the fuck did you do?" And I said, "If I told you that, I'd have to charge you a whole lot more." But he said to me one day, he said, "It is, I would really like to take you to the top of a mountain somewhere and not throw me off." He said, "I'd like to take you to the top of a mountain and just sit and listen to you and write down everything that you say." I thought that was amazing from a top CEO. He said, "I'd like to ask you a lot of questions and then document your thoughts on them." And I said, "That's a huge compliment. Thank you." And he said, "No, I mean it." He said, "Because you have an uncanny ability to solve problems. And I've heard that from other people, which is why I hired you." And I said, "Well, I guess because I don't see problems the way that you do. I see that problems are because of people. And people cause their own problems 9 times out of 10. And half the time, the problems are there because people don't want to tell the truth about how upset they really are." And by the way, the person who ended up on the chopping block, basically, from the staff, was the manager. They crucified him in no uncertain terms because I gave them permission to tell the truth and said, "I will make sure that your CEO knows that I gave you permission to tell the truth and none of you will be punished for it because we need to solve the problem, whatever the problem is. And if I don't get to what the problem is, how can we fix it?" All right. And when I realized, and I was pretty sure it probably was the manager, when I realized it definitely was the manager. And by the way, we did it incognito, first of all. We did it just by people writing anonymous comments. And then when I got that information, I said, "Okay, now we've got this much information. I think we need to talk about it publicly." And we did. And, it was really funny because the guy was actually stunned. He had no idea that they disliked him this much and why they disliked him this much. And he apologized. He said, I want to tell you, I'm sorry. And I mean it. I am sorry. And now that I know this is, upsetting people this much, I will change my ways. And if I don't, then I don't deserve the job. And he got a round of applause from his staff. But he said, "I agree with Sal. If you don't tell me these things, how will I know? I'm not clairvoyant." All right. I'm not clairvoyant. If you guys don't let me know, I'm not suggesting be rude to me or speak to me the way Sal has given you permission to speak to me. But he said, you can do this politely and still let me know. And therefore, I take it on, but part of it is on you. Because I would, if I don't know why you are so upset, how can I fix it? Or how can I not fix it out of choice? In which case, there's a whole different story going on. Yeah, because maybe it's only one person who has this issue. But when a whole department has this issue, which obviously you do, then I need to make sure that I change my way. I said, good for you. I said, and funny enough, although it probably is very humiliating, you have probably gained a whole lot of respect from your staff in that statement. And I said, don't do it just because I said so, but how many of you feel more respectful of your manager for the fact that he can say what he just did? And guess what? They all did. Yeah. But now I said, you got to prove it. It's not just words. Can't prove it. They just work. They'll believe you even less next time. So make sure you prove it. But it was interesting to me because all the time, whether it's this or anything else, I'm always, it's like I create a problem so that I can fix it. It's just like anybody else would just send the frame. That probably will cost close to $50 to send that one with the glass in it. And then you've got to be careful you don't break it. See, most people wouldn't even care about that. I do. We got less and less money. We need to be more and more aware of every cent that we spend. And do I think it's going to get any better? No, I think it's going to get a whole lot worse. So when people laugh at me because of my little experiments with things like the cabbage, I go, you go ahead and you laugh at me. But you see, I now know I could feed this community with a couple of cabbages if I wanted to. Not a couple. I need more than a couple. I've got quite a big community. But, literally give everybody a couple of, of cabbage leaves. I could be mass producing them. I know I could do it now, just with water. And it's just like I'm busy growing lettuce. I am hoping within the next, probably take me another month before my lettuces are harvestable in any way. But I just got one more load of lettuce coming in this afternoon that I paid for. And I'm hoping that I can get this working well enough so I can do the same. And the ones that I'm growing up from seed. God, they take a long time. I planted those seeds in March and they're this big. And it's, not a whole lot of lettuce leaves. And we know it's going to take them another couple of months before they are big enough. But I need to tell you that this romaine lettuce, I've just cut the top off it and I have that in a salad just now. But this romaine lettuce has been in my fridge for a month. I buy 3 hearts at a time because I've learnt romaine lettuce lasts the longest for me. Buy 3 hearts at a time. I don't break them up. I just leave them. And I put paper towel in the bag with them. And then once a week, I take the paper towels out and put fresh, clean, dry ones in there. And when I use one of the romaine lettuces, I wrap that one up in paper towel. I can keep three romaine lettuces will keep me going for a month for the rate at which I eat lettuce. Yeah, Kimmy's saying food prices went up again at our grocery stores. Even bad food costs a lot of money. I want to tell you, and that's why I'm saying people laugh at me because of the experiments that I do, my neighbors do, and I go, hey, you keep on laughing. You keep on laughing. Number one, a packet of seeds cost me less than that basil plant. Now, I'm not very good at growing seeds. I'm getting better, but it's not as easy as it sounds. But this year is the first year in 4 years of doing this that I've actually got a plethora of lettuce seedlings up to this height. I probably have about 48 or so, maybe more, right, at this height, with maybe 5 or 6 leaves on them. Tiny leaves, only about this big, but it's healthy. And to me, that's another step forward. I don't know why I get so excited, but I do. And that's it for today, I think. Let me just double check. So the feeling that I have this week was pretty darn good. Oh no, I got another one. By the way, I've got an alarm thing going off, so forgive me for that. I can hear it. If you can hear it, don't worry about it. I felt a bit educated. I wonder, have you ever got into a website where it tells you to fill in a form and it gets stuck? And then you get out of it and think, I'll go back and do it later. And about 2 hours later, you go back and try to fill it in again, and it's still stuck. Have any of you ever had that happen? So I had that happen this week with Canada Post when I was trying to send the one frame away on its way for a birthday present for somebody. And I phoned Canada Post and said, your website hates me. And I said, now it's probably a good judge of character, but I just want to tell you that's my problem. Your website does not like me. And it proves it time and time again. This is not the first time. It regularly tells me it doesn't like me. So I need your help to find out what I've done to upset it, please. Well, you know that the person on the other end is already laughing. And so she said, let me see what I can do to help you. Tell me what the problem is. I said, well, I can get as far as this, but when I get here, it doesn't want to go past there. And she said, okay, let me make this easy for you. I said, that would be very kind of you. Thank you. She said, can you open an incognito window? Now, for those of you who don't know how to do that, if you're on Chrome, you've got those 3 little dots at the top right-hand corner. And if you press them, it allows you to open a new tab, open a new window, or a new incognito window. Now, if you're on Apple, I'm certain somebody will tell me what you have to press to do the same thing in Apple. But in Chrome, you're looking for those 3 dots. It's called the hamburger because it's, most hamburgers have 3 layers, right? So actually, mine's got 4. Well, blow me. No, 3. My eyes are going. 3. So you press that, right? So you don't have to go all the way, but just check if you've got Chrome, just check the little hamburger, and you'll see that one of your options, and the shortcut in Chrome is Control-Shift-N. Okay? Now, here's what happens. When you go incognito, Chrome is no longer holding any of that past knowledge in its brain. In an incognito window, it doesn't have any background stuff to it. But the good news is it still retains all your automatic fill-in stuff, right? So I said to her, it's not going to let me sign in. I'm going to have to find all my passwords and everything. And then I went to do it, and it still did all the right things. And I went, oh, magic, magic, magic. It's working. And, I'm not joking. It was such a simple fix. And I said, I cannot tell you how amazing that is to me. And guess what? But 2 or 3 hours later, it happened to me on another site. And I went, I know what to do now. Control-Shift-N, new incognito window, start it again, and done. So I hope that helps a lot of you. And it is just It's. I want to tell you something. When you know me, I'm a great conduit for useless information. But it's just like I went. If this is magic to me, then I know it's going to help other people. Therefore, really, I call it my. I did. I felt educated, and yet so simple. Now, have any of you been suffering with allergies? Because one of the other questions that I heard from at least one of my viewers this week was, I cannot believe how bad my allergies are this year. And, I've noticed that even though I'm taking allergy medication every day, I'm still having issues. And so I want to tell you that I did a bit of research into that. And from what I can gather, there are two reasons for it. Yeah, Jody's saying allergies are horrible for me this year. Jody, can you just check? Is it the male or the female tree that produces the pollen? I think it's the male tree. Could you just do a sort of general check? Which tree, not, is it the male tree that produces pollen or the female tree? Now, I didn't know there were male and female trees, but apparently so. This is one reason, and I'm going to get to that in a second while Jody's just having a look at that. The other reason is climate change. Okay? We've got, all the trees and stuff are getting a little bit panicky because they don't understand the weather. That's what I thought, it was the male trees. All right, but it is the female trees that drop all the leaves and the acorns and all that stuff, right? So here's what I found out from my research. This is how I occupy my time. Asking stupid questions like this. Apparently, a lot of municipalities around the world stopped growing female trees because the female trees produce too much crud for them to clean up. Now, does that make logical sense that somebody at the city council said, well, why don't we just stop growing female trees? Well, let's just put the male trees in. And everybody thought that was brilliant. But it's now got to the point where we've got so many of them pumping pollen at us. Does that make any logical sense to you? And if you don't believe me, do your own research. And I read that, I went, is this April Fool's Day? And that's why I had Jody check it as well. Everything is burning. My eyes, my sinuses, my ears, absolutely. And it will continue to get worse. Isn't that interesting though, Jody? I'm going, that is fascinating to me. I would never have thought of that. I would have thought of climate change, but I would never have blamed it on the trees. Now, here's another thing. Did you hear that the guy who blew the whistle on Boeing recently died? His name was Joshua Dean. He was an auditor, quality control auditor. And he was only 45. And he died on Tuesday of that MRSA, that virus. So you go, that's really sad. But as I was reading that story, I also read that the first whistleblower from Boeing, like he blew the whistle some years ago. Do you know that he also has died of apparently a self-inflicted gunshot wound? And I went, one whistleblower dying? Sad. Two whistleblowers dying? Really? Yeah, I agree, Jody. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, WTF on that one. And I'm going, where's Mr. Putin? Because this I would expect in Russia, but not in Seattle. I don't know about you, but I just cue the music in here, the Jaws music, whatever you want. But it's just like, really? And you want me to believe that's a coincidence? Hmm. Pull the other leg, it's got bells on it. And the other thing I did this week was have a field of vision test. Have any of you ever had it? I think it has to do with the fact that I've got macular degeneration starting. That's why they wanted me to have it. But I did the test. So I thought if you haven't had it, I would tell you what happens if any of you are interested. So if you've already had it, you know all about it. Okay, Jody says, I'm not sure if I've had that. Okay, let me tell you, it's a bit like a hearing test, Jody, but for your eyes. You know, a hearing test, they ping all sorts of different noises at you and you sort of press a button when you can hear it. Well, the field of vision test does the same thing. You're looking straight ahead, or you're trying to look straight ahead at a pinpoint, and it's flashing lights in different places. And every time you see one, you press a button. Very simple. But I want to tell you, you get into the clicker mode, and then there's nothing happening, and now you're panicking. Am I really missing that many? And you're not meant to move your eyes. It's very difficult not to move your eyes. Let me just explain to you. If you suddenly see something over there, you automatically sort of look there, right? It's like human nature. So to keep your eyes focused forward, and I ended up clicking stuff, and she said we had to basically start it again because I couldn't keep my eyes straight forward. And I was clicking at stuff I wasn't meant to be able to see. It was very fascinating. So, Jeannie's had that test. All right, Jeannie. So am I describing it accurately in your view? If not, please feel free to elucidate. But they say that it'll take about a week or two for the results to come in, and then it'll be a case of is there another step or not? Right? Either I've passed the test or that the optician will need to talk to me about the results. So she said, would you like us to let you know one way or the other? I said, no, I will presume I'm absolutely fine unless I hear otherwise. Right? So I've got a note in 2 weeks' time. If I haven't heard, I guess I'm fine. So I'm not looking to give people work. Yeah, it's not easy, is it, Jeannie? It's surprising. It's sort of like, and by the way, they changed the intensity of the light, right? So some of them would be very minuscule, right? You hardly a shadow, and you're thinking, did I see something there? Yeah. Then, there's a brighter one over there. Oh, you definitely saw that one. But the problem is when they flash 2 or 3, sort of pretty much one after the other, it's very difficult not to automatically press the 4th one. Is that psychological? What is it? Oh, Jody's saying that's like when I have an MRI and they tell me to be completely still. So then, of course, every muscle in my body starts twitching. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, I thought I'd let you know. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't you just literally you're sitting with all your chins resting on a thing. You're looking ahead. And by the way, they put the same prescription as you would have with your glasses into the system. All right. So what they're where are my chins now? So what they're checking on is with your normal glasses on that you would wear. What is your field of vision? Okay. Apparently, I have superhuman field of vision because I kept seeing lights that weren't there. Anyway, I don't mind. So we will see how I did. And I, of course, will update you when I find out that one. So that's what I have for today. I'm glad that made you laugh. I hope you found something of interest in today's broadcast. And if you did, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and or leave a comment below. I really appreciate it when you do that. It tells the Google algorithm that, I'm saying things worthy of something. Um, to me, the most fascinating thing was that frame made of just cardstock could hold a 5 pound book. To me, that was mind blowing. The other one was the pollen thing. That blew my mind completely. It's just like I never knew about male and female trees, and that because we've got more male trees. Who knew? Have a wonderful weekend. And remember, do one small thing in your spring cleaning and you will feel better. One small thing. I did. I said to Ciora when we finished putting the cubies in, and you know how much mess was in my kitchen yesterday. All right. You imagine I had all those countertops cleared. And then I had to sort it, put it away, and clean everything, and then put it all back together again. Um, I said, why do I keep doing this on a Thursday? But then I remembered this was my goal for May, to do that run of countertop. And so I'm going, hey, I'm good. Now, will I stop there? Obviously not. And then I had also done the bedroom, and I'm going, boy, I'm on a roll here. And I guess the answer is I'm feeling a lot better. Do you know what I mean? I must be feeling a lot better because I feel capable of doing these things. If you'd asked me to do this 6 months ago, I don't think I could have. My mind wouldn't have focused long enough. I wouldn't have been able to concentrate long enough. I wouldn't have been, had the vision to be able to find the answer that I wanted. And what I said to Ciora, let's try those cubes, see if it works. If it doesn't, we haven't lost anything. I will merely buy a roller blind that I can just pull out and hide them. But if the cubies work, it'll fit in with the other cubies that I've got. And it'll be symmetrical. And we know it works for hiding stuff. When it was all cleaned up, and I took that photo, I said that was worth every moment of getting it cleaned up, to be able to look at that. Now, will it take me the rest of my life to do that to every part of my house? You bet. I'm on a mission now. And some stuff will still end up in the shed, yeah. But I'm also, as you know, I went in there this week. Oh, I forgot to mention that. I went into the shed this week and went, what is in here that I can throw away? Because I need more room in here for the stuff that I want to bring in here. That means I've got to get rid of some stuff. Everything is real estate to me now. All right. If I've only got this much space, what deserves to be in here? And then let me open some boxes here in the shed and see if we can contain more in one box. In other words, 2 boxes into one halves the amount of stuff in the shed. Make sense? So this is all part of my mission. I can do this. I know how to do it. It's making the time. Choosing to make the time is the difficulty. This is DearMamaSal saying, have a wonderful weekend. I choose to do that. And we'll see you on Sunday. For those of you who don't know, may the force be with you tomorrow on May the 4th and the rest of the year. And remember that something as simple as somebody accidentally saying R2D2 can create a legend. I found that fascinating. How did he come up with the names of these things? All right. And then when I heard that what he was sitting in that cutting room or in that sound studio on American Graffiti, and the guy said, oh, I need to get to R2D2. He said, what's that? He said, revision 2 of the second dialogue track. R2D2. He said it just rolled off the tongue so nicely. What a great name for for his little treasure. This is Dear Mama Sal saying thank you for being here and thank you for making it fun to do the broadcast. We'll see you on Sunday. Bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jody and Jeannie and the rest of you.